Chief UN Weapon of Mass Destruction Inspector in Iraq. He's retired, and then he's also Tasmania Governor General. So we are very honored that he is here. And then, because we want to hear from him about Burma, what he has about things about, because now we know that the UN General Secretary Ban Ki-moon went there to lobby for the release of Aung San Suu Kyi, but there is no result yet. But we know that now, and Burmese representative in the UN General Assembly said they will give an amnesty to the political prisoner, just giving some song like that. But what will happen, we don't know. So anything that will happen, so we need expert advice, expert views or something like that, because we did whatever we can in our capacity, but we need lots of people to advising us, guiding lobbying about the government, the present Burmese government, to come to the go to a change to the fair, change to the democracy. That's why we need a discussion, and after his speech, we can have a short question and answer. No? Thank you.
And to all of you, thank you for being here. I'm here because I have a very great privilege of having become part of a Korean family. My wife's son, my stepson, is married to a young Korean woman, and this has introduced us to the issue of Korean people in Australia and in Burma. Now, do you prefer me to call it Burma or Myanmar?
Burma.
I prefer Burma. I prefer Burma and Rangoon, not Yangon. I hope that as time passes, everything will change.
It depends on the agenda, because if, like while you're working in the newspaper, and actually I worked for the nation for over 20 years there. So what happened was, when I was there, so the military attaché came to me and said, so why is it you all using the word Burma? He said, because the New York Times, they start changing, calling the Burma, and that Myanmar, Burma. So my boss, the Sri Chai Yong, of course you know the nation, Sri Chai Yong, our editor. Okay then, so he approached me and he said, okay then, but I got no say. I'm just only a sub-editor like that. So if you want to talk to me, you can come to the office. So I invited them. So I brought them to the office, and then actually the ambassador has nothing. Actually, the main guy was the military attaché guy from office, because the embassy and the military attaché was about like the stone throw. You can go across there. So and then, okay, we came there, and then so I told my editors, okay, then bring them again, and then they came here. So, he said, because, okay, if the people of Burma changed from Burma to Myanmar, on the spot of the next day we changed the name from using the Burma to Myanmar. But it was not being approved by the people. Well, it's your army.
Yeah.
That's
what I was going to say.
Yeah, sorry.
I prefer to call it Burma.
It's not that, because Myanmar is the right word, we know that. But because they just try to be like xenophobic now, because the thing that
the people want.
Yeah. So the people, okay, but Myanmar, if the people had voted Myanmar, we will change it right to Myanmar.
Of course. Well, that's
without voting.
I assume that there will come a time where things will change. We'll talk in a minute, I guess, about when that time might be and how things might be changed. But I assume that one of the things that will change is that the people will have an opportunity to decide whether they want to be known as the people of Burma or the people of Myanmar. Burma has only one problem, I suspect, in this context, which is that not all of the citizens of Burma are Burmese. There are Korean, there are others, and so whether Myanmar covers that problem by not putting one of the community groups at the centre of things, namely the Burmese, then maybe people would like that. But I don't think it's a very serious issue. Much more important is the very idea that the people of Burma can express their will on anything. Because at the moment it's not possible for them to have a free expression of their views, their interests, their political preferences, their religions, really on anything. That the people, as you know better than I, are suffering under military dictatorship, and that's the opposite of freedom of expression. Now, this is the question of what needs to occur in Burma, it seems to me, is very easy to answer. And that is that the slork has to go. They must be replaced by a government chosen by the people. That's not to give satisfaction to some Western idea of democracy. You may find this interesting coming from me, but I'm not completely convinced of all Western ideas of democracy. They vary. There are some countries in the West that are very highly effective as democracies. They vote properly, they count the votes properly. When they elect a government, you can be fairly sure that this is the government that the people want. But there are Western countries who have democratic systems that are deeply flawed, that have problems. Even the great United States of America found 8 years ago that it was unable to count the vote for president properly in the state of Florida. And the Supreme Court had to intervene and appoint George W. Bush President of the United States. What I'm saying is that I don't think there is a single model of democracy that is flawless, that is holy, that God blesses, and this is the one we should all have. But what I will say is this: we all know the difference between a situation where people have, let us call it, a reasonable opportunity to express their opinion, to speak freely, to associate freely with each other, and to choose their own government. We all know the difference between that general system, even with some flaws, and the situation where none of those choices are possible, where people are afraid to speak, afraid to write in the newspapers what they truly think, afraid that when they meet other citizens to talk about the state of affairs that they will be observed and may be punished for meeting with people that are not approved of, and of course above all a situation where in no sense has the people chosen their government. Now, Burma today is one of those cases. It's not the only one in the world, but it is a case where all of those basic freedoms are absent. The only way in which this can change, in my opinion, is through the removal from power of these generals, the slork. Now, you know that, I know that. It's not just about Daw Aung San Suu Kyi, although that's an important situation of rights at the core of democracy, because her party won an election. So it's also important symbolically that this woman be let free. She's being held in a way that is shocking. But I don't believe that our attention should be diverted too far on the single issue of what they call the lady. It's an important issue, but the real